Is Pinterest right for you? That is a question that you need to ask yourself, especially if you're planning on investing time and money in this platform, just as you should be asking this about any other platform. But before I cover what I believe to be the best type of businesses, the people that may actually succeed the most on Pinterest, I did want to mention that I believe that you should set up shop on Pinterest no matter what type of business you have, no matter what you're trying to promote. And I actually believe you should set up shop, as I like to call it, on as many platforms as you can. Have a presence on online and as many places as you can for several reasons. First, you can actually rank on let's say Google by having your profile set on all of these different platforms. Even if you don't plan on being active and like create pins, for example, on Pinterest, just by setting up your profile and putting your crafting your bio, putting your URL to your store or wherever you want to drive traffic to, anyone who's on that platform and wants to find you there, you're there. You're not missing customers for absolutely almost no time invested just by setting up your profile, something a customer acquired for free. So definitely have a presence in as many places as you can, but also because, as I said, you can rank all of those keywords. Those are backlinks. Google, for example, because it's the most used search engine platform, Google recognizes the authority of Pinterest way more than if you have your own website. Like, they don't really know your website yet, but they know Pinterest. So having your profile set up on Pinterest, you can rank much easier on Google. And same thing with LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of those different platforms. Google Business, obviously. Try to have a presence on as many as possible so you can rank well when someone is searching for you in other places. So just wanted to get that out of the way. But now I want to cover what are the best business types for Pinterest, starting with e-commerce. E-commerce is a no-brainer. If you have an e-commerce business and you're not on Pinterest, you are really missing out. And here's an interesting fact. Pinterest actually started as an e-commerce platform, but they saw that a lot of the users, most users, were just adding a lot of things to cart and leaving it there for just like planning future purchases or just as like inspiration. And that's how they shifted to sort of that mood board sort of feel. But now they're coming back full force with the e-commerce aspect, with new e-commerce features. So I would say Pinterest is one of the cheapest ways that you can acquire sales organically. We're definitely going to be covering advertising as well, and that really boosts your numbers, your clicks, your visibility, your sales for sure. But in terms of organic traffic for your e-commerce store, Pinterest is a no-brainer. Cannot stress this enough. Also, bloggers and vloggers. That's definitely a goal. If you're a blogger, I'm sure you already know about Pinterest. It's like the perfect marriage. And because if you're creating pieces of content and you have all of those keywords, you want to rank for those, you definitely want to have a place to like advertise, hey, come to my blog. And Pinterest has become this place for people to be drawn by the images of like the benefits of whatever you're going to cover on that piece of content. Because with Google, for example, let's say you have a blog and it's really well optimized and you rank first or second, it's still not that enticing, because when you're on Google, you see just like the title, it's just words. On Pinterest, if you are really creative, really strategic about creating your Pinterest graphics to drive traffic to your blogs, it's so much easier to get the attention of people, for them to click and go to your blog. So bloggers for certain can and already have been succeeding on Pinterest for a long time. But I also wanted to add in vloggers and anyone that does video content. So we do a lot of YouTube videos, for example, and I will say that Pinterest is not there yet. It's not still fully optimized for video content, but they have been making a lot of effort into investing in video content. So that's why I believe if you're a vlogger, if you do video content, you should be getting on that train now, because it's only gonna go up for sure, the amount of investment that they've been doing for video sort of content. Next, it's online services. So I'll touch a little bit on things that are not online later, but honestly, as long as your audience, as long as your customer, whatever you're selling, can be consumed from anywhere in the world or anywhere in the country, for example, I would say that you can definitely succeed on Pinterest. It is very difficult for you to really narrow down your efforts to just one part of the country, one part of the world. Let's say you're a very local type of business, a dentist, for example. Let's say you're a dentist. If your customer that you're trying to acquire needs to be that in person, then Pinterest might not be very good for you, because it's very difficult to limit to just one city or one place for that person to know about you. Unless, as we're going to cover soon, we're going to touch on your goals. What really is your goal on Pinterest, because you need to determine that first. And let's say you're a dentist, but your goal is to increase your online presence, your brand recognition. You want to start creating content for people to learn more about, the whole side of dentists. Then it doesn't really matter if the person that you're trying to reach is in the same city that you're in. If your goal is not to immediately acquire patients and your audience is there, like the whole country or the whole world, then absolutely Pinterest might be the place for you. And moving on with that, educators and content creators, for sure, again, like we're moving into this visual sort of platform. YouTube is definitely, I would say, one of the best places for educators and content creators. Anything that is more visual. TikTok has been really growing up as well, but Pinterest is right there. And they're putting so much effort into really increasing not only the video aspect of it, but also a lot of the audience has been going to Pinterest to learn. So a great way to inform, even visually with infographics. There's a lot of people who don't really like videos. They prefer blog posts, they prefer some sort of infographics, and Pinterest is the amazing place for this. So educators, content creators, definitely think Pinterest can be right for you. You can definitely succeed on Pinterest. Now, as I already mentioned, won't be too long on this, local services, local products. I would say that it's good to set up shop, as I mentioned, on Pinterest. Have your presence there. Especially because there are a lot of people who check you out. If you're local, they check you out online first to kind of see what you're all about before they go in personally. So just another tip. But yeah, if you're local, as I said, it is a little bit more difficult to find your specific audience there on Pinterest and not have it so broad. And also non-English speakers. Now, there are exceptions to this, and I'm going to cover that soon. But I will say Pinterest is bigger on English-speaking countries, specifically the US, the UK, and Canada. So just a heads up that you need to do your research, and we're going to cover that very soon in terms of if you don't speak English, is your audience going to be there? Now let's touch on the users. What kind of users are on Pinterest? First, with gender. 76% of Pinterest users are female. And not only that, most purchases are made by women on Pinterest. So if your product or service is geared toward women, I would say it's there for the taking. Your audience is there just waiting for you to create content for you. But I would not be discouraged if your product or service is geared toward men. There are two things that I want to say about that. First, you can gear that product toward women, for women to maybe gift that product to men. If you have a tool belt or a beard shaving kit or whatever, create content as for women, for them to purchase those products as a gift for their husbands, their fathers, their kids, whatever. You can definitely succeed that way. But also, even though the percentage is smaller, the percentage of men on Pinterest are smaller, that doesn't mean the numbers are low. Pinterest has only been increasing in number of users. So even though it's 24% of Pinterest as of right now are male, the numbers are huge. You can definitely still get men to find your pins, to purchase your products, and do all that through Pinterest for sure. Now, very interesting statistics is that 80% of moms in the US are on Pinterest. And I think that if you're from the US or if you live in the US, you kind of know this. It became sort of known. But if you have products and services directed to moms, again, this is the place for you. Like, what are you waiting for? They're waiting for you to create content for them, and you definitely have a bigger likelihood of succeed if that's your type of audience as well. Lastly, I wanted to quickly cover the age percentages. So from 18 to 29 is about 32% of users, 30 to 49, 34%, and then 50 to 64, 38%. And I would say it's pretty evenly split, but it is a really good sign, in my opinion, that the majority are a little bit older because of their spending power. Whatever you're selling, most likely who is going to really buy or have the ability to buy, at least with more ease, is going to be older people who have more of that disposable income. So that is that's some great news. And then lastly, the country. I do want to point out the vast majority of Pinterest users are in the United States. But I wanted to show you this graph that shows in millions per country the Pinterest audience size. So 86.35 million people in the United States are on Pinterest. Next, we have Brazil in second place. And that's what I wanted to give you the exceptions when I mentioned the non-English speakers. There are definitely exceptions like Portuguese in Brazil or Spanish in Mexico, German in Germany, French. Then we have Canada, United Kingdom, Italy, and Spain. I would say up until Spain, it's still a pretty good amount of people. Not that it's not like going down to the Netherlands. But if your country is not on that list, for example, let's say you live in Croatia and you want to reach a Croatian audience, and all of the pins, everything is in Croatian, you may not succeed on Pinterest. I would still say test it, definitely test it, but you probably will not have as much traffic as other people who are in these other countries would. So I just wanted to cover this first before we move forward. And lastly, I wanted to talk about the top categories on Pinterest, because if your product or service is in one of these niches, you have an even bigger likelihood of succeeding because people are there looking for those things a lot. So here's a list. We have food and drink, home and decor, travel, health and fitness, women's fashion, hair and beauty, DIY and crafts, entertainment, weddings, and holidays and events. Obviously, some of these seem kind of broad, and maybe you want to go to Pinterest to do okay, what sort of entertainment? There's a lot of, for example, movie quotes, movie related things like t-shirts, novelty things. So if you're in one of these niches, I would say Pinterest is at least worth a test, but wanted to put those out. Maybe these are going to change in the future. So it's good for you to keep up with it, always searching for maybe if your category has joined the most related. And if your category is not over here, it does not mean that you won't succeed, really. There is a place for everyone. It's all about competition and creativity and demand, and you can definitely succeed on Pinterest, even if your category is not there. But it's just an extra incentive in case your category is. But to summarize, the most important point is this. Is your audience there? You have to think about this when you're investing your time in any sort of marketing or social media platform, anything, because if your audience is not there, then you might be wasting your time and your money. You definitely don't want to do that. I still think it's worth a test. Let's say if you went through this video and you do not think that it's for you, One, as I mentioned, set up shop. Second, create a couple of pins. Create just a few, 5 pins, and leave it there, almost as like a catalog for you to leave there for whoever finds you over there as a test, for you to see how much you like it, how much time it takes you, if you get some sort of traction. And yeah, I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, leave those in the Q&A below, and let's get to the next video.